Hello, history scholars. Mrs. Olson here. Today's lesson is an introduction to the scientific revolution. Before we get to these slides, I want you to understand that when we study history, sometimes we study it in themes. This helps us to understand what happened in categories, but like in real life, these things are going on at the same time. Here's what I mean. We've been studying about absolutism, but the scientific revolution was happening at the same time as these extravagant rulers. Remember, some of these absolute rulers, like Louis XIV, actually funded the advancement of study like math and science. Okay, beginning with our learning target, you're going to be able to define the scientific revolution and explain its importance. Here we go. So here's the definition of the scientific revolution. First off, it was the emergence of modern science. So all of the science classes that you are taking right now or have taken have a basis in the scientific revolution and everything that was learned and discovered during this time period. Which brings us to the time period. When was the scientific revolution? Well, it started at the end of the Renaissance, so the 1500s, and continued into the late 1700s. If you were talking about centuries, you would say that this is the 16th century and it went into the 18th century. And what happened? Well, there were developments in math, physics, astronomy, biology, and chemistry. And one of the biggest ideas is that it changed the way that people thought about nature. Because before this, the way that science was thought about was rooted in old Greek ideas, which aren't bad, but they were old, and also religion. Okay, where did it start? Europe is the answer to that. Scientific revolution started in Europe. And if you could give anybody credit for kicking off the scientific revolution, it would be Copernicus with his book called On the Revolutions of the Heavenly Spheres. Here is an artist's rendition of Copernicus and his ideas, which is about the sun being the center of the universe and the planets revolving around the sun. This was a novel and an important idea that not many people believed in when Copernicus first came out with it. Okay, this reads that 17th century scientists and philosophers began to work with members of the mathematical and astronomical communities. What they did was started working together. Math and science, they often go together, right? And what began was this research tradition of experimentation. Have you studied about the scientific method? The scientific method began with the scientific revolution. Okay, here are the big ideas, the impacts of the scientific revolution. Copernicus's heliocentric model, so helio, sun, center, right, the middle, so the sun being in the middle of the solar system. Human anatomy, this is a big deal. They started to dissect dead people, corpses, instead of animals, and so they got a very good understanding of how our human bodies are put together. And there was this modernization. So, modernization, think about new techniques, better techniques of disciplines within disciplines like dentistry, physiology, chemistry, and optics. Okay? And there was this invention of tools. So some things, this is definitely not all of them, some things that came out of this were the mechanical calculator, refracting and reflecting telescopes, and the vacuum pump. Here are some pictures. So astronomy and Copernicus. Robert Boyle's first air pump, the vacuum pump. And here is just a picture to help you understand that. They were doing interesting, maybe some gross things, but interesting things and learning about human anatomy. Okay, more impacts. It laid the foundation for the Age of Enlightenment. And when we were studying absolute rulers, we actually heard this term, Enlightenment, which is going to come after the scientific revolution. So we have to have the scientific revolution before the Enlightenment. This says that when the Enlightenment flourished, scientific authority began to displace, so think of this as replacing, trying to get rid of religious authority. So more and more people understanding science began to put science in front of religious ideas. And I just want to make sure, yep, that was my last note on that one. And this is just a word cloud to give you an idea of what is coming with the Age of Enlightenment. Okay, guys, like I said, this is only an introduction to the scientific revolution. I wanted to give you a basis of understanding before you start reading and learning about the scientific revolution. Hope it helps. Talk to you guys later. Bye.